All right, welcome everyone to another edition of our Coaches Corner here, and everyone that's been listening, I've been talking to some of the coaches in order of seniority here, and I think I have this one right with my next coach that I have on here, but we're trying to do it a little bit different here. So we're actually going to be in the same room, unlike Zoom. So I hope the sound quality is a little bit better for everyone, and we're just gonna have a conversation, and I'm gonna ask Janice some questions here. So,
I'm ready.
Jog my memory. How long have you been here for? How many years? You started as an athlete, right?
Yeah, December 2013. So almost 7 years.
And
7 years. December 2013.
And how did you find CrossFit?
Through a friend. So I had I had all my kids in school, finally, and I was running, and a girlfriend and her husband came here all the time, and I basically went out for my 36th birthday dinner, and she was like, when are you going to try CrossFit? And I honestly, she liked it, and I knew her past behavior with training, and I'm like, she likes it. She liked a lot of aerobic style, like bouncing kind of classes, and she never really lifted weights. So I was I'd heard about it, but I really never really heard about it. So when we were out drinking on my birthday, she was like, they have a Living Socials deal. It's like $70. You get the foundations and 1 month unlimited. By the end of the night, I guess I had enough drinks. I signed up that night and got an email the next morning, and that was pretty much it.
What was it? What you thought it was going to be like when you walked in, or was it different than what you thought it was going to be like?
It was very, like a lot of members will say. I came in for my first foundations with Coach Steph, but I came in about 20 minutes early, so I saw Allison was here, Lisa. I saw some women doing like all these pull-ups and all these things and kipping and people lifting weight, and I had heard about it, but like I still at that time, even though I knew I was athletic, was like, I'm never gonna be able to do that, you know. It wasn't 100% what I thought it would be, but what I was actually really disappointed in me. No, that just.
No, we're good. It's still recording.
Oh, sorry. Is that knowing that I'd been athletic, grew up as a gymnast, that I wasn't able to. During that first class, we tested a little bit of strength, and we had to do pull-ups, and I could only do one pull-up. Now, Coach Steph was like, "Oh my God, that's great!" And in my mind, I was like, "I can't believe you've gotten so weak in these years that you can only do one pull-up." So for me, right from the get-go, it was like, dude, I'm on. This is on. Like I need to get some of my athleticism back, get a little bit stronger again.
Yeah.
So it was different. But right away I was like sold.
When was then there was like a switch that was flipped with you from Janice that was just coming to work out to Janice that became a competitive CrossFitter.
Yeah.
Do you remember how that happened or when that happened?
I want to even say that the first time, when I came out in December, I did that open for the first year in 2014.
The first year you joined?
The first year I was here. I'd only been here about 3 or 4 months. That was really eye-opening. That also, in terms of the CrossFit community, was a huge thing, but I really realized there was things that I was good at that I think we're hardest on ourselves, but there was things that I did a lot. I was in line with a lot of the people who had been in the gym that had been here for a long time that were younger than me. So I was like, wait, I can do that. But it was that summer was the first, I signed up for our first team at CrossFit Generation where I did that. We had a couple teams that went that year. So a lot of us, it was me, Frizz, Maggie.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
So doing my first team competition, and actually team competitions were comfortable for me. I had still to this day, I've never done my own personal competition.
Really? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I guess it's the comfort in knowing that, like, you have a team member. I'm always going to... I serve people. So I think that's just me as nature. I work well off of other people. I don't like to let people down. It's always been comfortable, whether I was the weaker one on the team or the stronger one. I always knew that I could put something. And then it got to the point where I kind of got out of comps, actually, I would say the only individual one was actually just doing the open stuff. Was like there, and that was hard for me.
Yeah.
That was hard. I mean, doing training on my own, I don't like training on my own.
I think I got to judge you in almost every open workout.
Yeah,
at least
that
the
year.
1 year.
Yeah,
I judged you in every single one.
The 2019, the early 2019 one.
Yeah.
You were my judge in all of those, which was great. But
yeah. Now, did you play sports when you were younger? What did you play?
So I grew up as a gymnast, but not solely. I started gymnastics when I was like 3 or 4, and then I played any sport I ever could possibly get my hands on. So early years, soccer and basketball. Then I got into middle school, I got into field hockey. Mm-hmm. So in high school, I was softball, basketball, field hockey. I stopped gymnastics right around the time I was 15, just because that got to be, it was either be a gymnast or play other sports. And at that point, it was just not feasible in any ways. And I said, you know what, I like the variety of the other sports.
Yeah.
Gymnast, I was an okay gymnast. I wasn't a phenomenal one. Maybe I would have been better if I did all gymnastics, but I love playing everything. There's not a sport that I probably wouldn't try.
Yeah. You think that's where some of your competitive drive comes from?
100%.
I mean, you compete.
Yeah.
Like when you work out in class, like there's some people that don't compete and like kind of just like me.
Yeah.
I just go through the motions.
Yeah.
But you could tell you're pushing. I just watched you in the 11 o'clock class and I'm like, damn, she still goes at it that hard.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the thing is, though, like, I know for me, there's a definitely different mindset now than it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Before, I think I paid attention to a lot of people. Now I truly do compete against myself. Yeah. Like, I work at workouts. I definitely work a little bit more on strategy now. I'm a lot smarter. Yeah. And, like, today I came in and I'm like, how am I going to handle it? I'm going for 20 reps. I felt I was falling short, so you know what? I'm going to go hard the last couple seconds and I'm going for 20 reps.
Good.
You know, like, it's just, but I don't really care what other people do. You know what I mean? Where before I think it was like what other people do to kind of depict it.
Yeah.
What I did.
Oh, yeah.
So in that aspect, I think competing for me, it makes me feel young. Doing CrossFit in general has just made me feel like an athlete again.
Totally.
I mean, when can you say a 40-year-old is doing some of the stuff that we're doing?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So,
no, you're totally right. Now, you have an interesting kind of progression into this coaching role where, I mean, you started as an athlete. And what was it that you were like, I want to start coaching here? Because I actually think, I'll tell you when it was for me. And maybe you agree with me, but I actually asked you to be a coach here. And for me, it was after we did the 2000, I think it was the 18 or 19 Open where we had the teams. Yeah. And you were a team captain. Yeah. And I watched like what you did and heard things about what you did for that team during it. And I just, in you, I really just saw him like, she's a leader. Yeah. She's a leader. And it was Ince specifically. I was going to do this anyway, but I'll give Ince credit. Yeah. After the whole Open was over, Ince goes, it was at the end of the Open party. We had
Which I wasn't even at.
Yeah, you weren't there, but we had it at Carrie's parents' house. But anyway, we had a big party there after the Open. Ince comes up to me during the night. He goes, you got to make Janice a coach. I go, I know. You know. Were you already thinking that you wanted to become a coach before that, or?
I mean, I definitely had thought about it. I had always thought about getting my level 1, more just for the fact that I'm kind of a geek in that way. I also find that this is like my background in general, is that I've been known to be a hard worker, not always a smart worker. So oftentimes I work really hard, and you were eye-opening to me in training when we was training and you were setting some accessory work for me to do. And you said to me, you're like, dude, you are so much better of an athlete than you give yourself credit for. But sometimes it's like, I would go hard every single class and not actually do things smart. When I think when it comes to me coaching, previously, I used to even say to Coach Steph, like, I love that someone else is telling me what to do and I'm not thinking about it. But what I noticed is a big thing that I didn't like when I first came here to CrossFit was it was our gym, although it was very welcoming, we had very big cliques. Yeah. There had been athletes who had been here for the whole duration of the time. Oh, yeah. A lot of the athletes were a lot younger. So there was a big, so I felt like when I came in, I never really felt like anybody was like, oh my God, it's great. I came in a certain group of people, I felt that way, but I really felt like that part was hard. Yeah. So as I kind of got to become a better athlete, I naturally just started realizing new people were coming in. I thought I took it upon myself as a community member to make sure that they felt a different way than maybe I felt when I came in. And I think that once I started that, and then I would be, I took it upon myself to train with some people who maybe weren't the same level as me on purpose. Because I wanted to let them know that, some people are subconscious or self-conscious about the way they look when they're doing certain things, or they feel like they're inferior in a certain way. This gym setting can do that for people. Oh, yeah. Totally. But I think sometimes, having members, say, hey, you know what, this person, I can tell that if you look around, you start seeing, and helping them out. And I noticed that I felt a lot better. I got a lot more, and I feel like as a coach and maybe in general, I get a lot more out of the performance of the people around me than I do actually of myself. And I think the switch was probably about 2018, 2019 where I started being like, I could understand why people coach. And then, you know, having that team was huge. Just seeing, like, I had some members when we were doing the Open, like, in tears. Because I got the first wall ball. You know, and, like, being a part of that and, you know, watching Karen D, who's, you know, was 59, who she couldn't get the ball to the line, get, like, 6 or 7 wall balls. Now I see her 2 years later slugging them out. It's like, I know to know that I was a part of that. That's huge.
That's cool. And I think, I mean, you made a good point there. I think it's the reason, like, you know, people are like, well, why do you guys coach? And they think it's like just the workout because we do it for a living. Yes, we do this for a living, but we find it so professionally satisfying for those big milestones, you know? It's like the coolest thing in the world. And like, you didn't say once that, you know, the highlight of your job was, you know, getting people like muscle ups and stuff like that. I mean, that's also cool. It really, really is. But it's so much deeper than that. It goes down to just that basic root of having anyone do something that they didn't think they can do.
And I think for me, I mean, seeing men do things that they haven't, seeing men come in here and be humbled, I think is great because it brings everybody comes down to a level. You either come up to a level or you come down. I seeing women lift what they're lifting or move, like they're like, oh man, wow. You know, and it kind of does that. But for women, I just think this sport in general, what it does for the young women we have come in here that are teenagers, to the moms that come in here, to the yo-yo dieters, to the people who just think I have to do cardio all the time. The little things, for me, like that's what pushes me as a coach, is to know that I can make an impact on their life outside of here. You know, on understanding that muscle is okay, and to look a certain way is, you know, looking one way is, you know, that society you know, thinks you should look versus what your body's potential to be. It's an amazing thing. And I think all of our coaches, whether you are a man or a woman, kind of can get in that and dig a little bit deeper.
I agree.
So for me, I mean, like I said, for me, I just realized that my life is, was meant to kind of be a service person. That's what I've done in any career that I've ever had. I get fulfilled by taking care of people, helping them.
You can see it.
And I get joy out of their results from them. You know, as big or little as it may be, and the impact that we make on people's lives. And we can always say, you know, people can say, oh yeah, like, is money good? You know, this is not a job that is one that you can come in here and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. So to do this job, even if you maneuver the system, you have to love it. You have to love people, and you have to be the bigger picture.
Totally. And I think that comes through most of the coaches. I think,
100%.
And every coach that I've talked to so far here, you know, and I don't prep you guys for these. I basically say, we're going to hop on here and we're going to talk, you know, and it comes through every single time. I mean, not one coach has been prepared for these things. It's so cool for me as the business owner and the head coach here to see that in you guys, that you guys are doing that, because it was such a hard message to, like, really deliver, like, why do we really do this? But I think, and I've said this almost on every coach's corner, is the coaching skills at this gym have elevated so much over the last year or two, especially over the last 6 months, that I really believe, and we're all pretty competitive, right? So you see someone coach like, ooh, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it a little bit better, or I'm going to explain it a little bit different, or I'm going to write my email differently. Like, we really look for a way to, when that member comes in, to give them the best experience possible. And whatever you're strong at, right? If you're strong at, like, taking care of newer people, like, you make that come through. If you're really good at presenting, like, the theory behind a topic, then you do that. You know, and it's really cool to see. And I think the culture that, and you're part of this, you know, the culture that we create as a coaching staff is one that is so good and so professional, and like everyone's always getting better.
Yeah.
I mean, the
100%.
progress that I've seen in you from when you first started coaching to now is like
threw me to the wall. You did.
I did.
Come on,
I did.
Which I was okay with.
And some of that was on me, because even the onboarding for a new coach now is different.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot different now, as far as like when do we feel like you're ready to actually coach, and it's so different now. And the demand is so high. The expectation of what you do in class is so high.
Yeah.
You know, 100%. That and it just drives it up. I mean, you guys get better like every single week. I'm like, wow, you guys are like totally amazing. So as an athlete, you had went and taken the level 1 certification. And I tell a lot of athletes come up to me like, should I take it even if I don't want to coach? You know, what did you think of the level 1? Was it eye-opening for you, or?
I would recommend, if you can afford it, and if you can, even if that means finding ways over the course of 6 months to save up a little bit of money each month. You do not need to want to be a coach to do it. I think it's so underrated on how beneficial that course is. I fixed so many of my faults in 2 days because of that. You know, and also, you know, just the basic things of learning how you get, what drives you, or as an athlete, how you best get coached. I learned that cues that they said that worked for me and cues that didn't. And each one of those level 1 trainers had 95 different cues. You know, whether it's, you know, in the overhead squat, put your pinky over the end of the bar. You know, reaching up to the gym, pulling the bar apart, all these different things. And I was able to say, oh wait, you know what? For years they've been saying that. I never really understood. But the concepts that I learned from that, and being in that position for like an hour and a half, we're doing overhead squats with the PVC for an hour and a half. You're like, what? Oh yeah. I've never been more sore in my life too.
Oh, exactly.
But coming back and realizing like I then pulled weight off the bar. You know, I was having a hard time where I wasn't progressing for a long time. I'd gone up, just like the newbie gains. You see people come in and like, you know, they're doing a squat at 100 pounds, and next thing you know, their back squat jumps to 150 in 3 months, and it's amazing. Well, you know, you've been doing this a while.
Oh yeah.
You're lucky to get 5 pounds. You know,
totally.
and when you get stuck, it's like, obviously on a clean, if I can squat clean 165 for 3 years. Yet I know I'm getting stronger. Obviously something technically is wrong.
Exactly.
So that was what was big and eye opening for me, is coming back and saying, you know what, I'm dropping. I'm not going anything over 65%. I'm gonna just work this and work it.
And I think people forget that, because early on in CrossFit it was about always besting yourself. But the truth is that stops after a while. And we really have to look at, why are we doing this, right? We're looking to get in really good shape, right? So you need to do a little bit of conditioning. You need to lift heavy things. Nowhere in there is to say you need to do better than you did last time. It may not be a great day for you, but you still need the stimulus to make changes on your body. 100%. Your body and your health can still change without the weights changing. They really, really can. And I think a lot of people don't really understand that. So, you know, they find it strange when they come to our gym, and the way we coach, we don't mention the RX weights. You know, because it doesn't really matter. Or if we do
mention them, because we know members in that class typically will do RX, we basically say, although the board says this, we recommend, if you can't do it like this, you know, we gotta be like that. You have to, because honestly, if you don't get the stimulus, you're never gonna get better.
Exactly.
Like, I might not squat clean. I have not gone much up in my squat clean in the last 3 years, but I could do 80% for multiple reps, like I did today, and bang them out. And you know, where a couple of years ago, I never would have been able to do that.
Exactly.
You know, because we're working at the percentages that are lower and picking up more of the volume, more time under tension.
Exactly. And different components of your fitness also change, because your absolute max isn't going up. Doesn't mean other components aren't getting better, and I think people need to understand that. So I did want to change direction a little bit. You're also a precision nutrition certified coach, and you're our nutrition coach here, and you do a significant amount of coaching. Can you tell me a little bit, how did you get into that, and kind of give me a brief summary of like the program that you're kind of running people through?
So I mean, even before we got into that, I think a big shift that maybe a lot of people don't know, maybe members that have been here a long time do know, people have been here now that started with us in the last year and a half ago. I think the big shift too in the gym really does start from the top. Like you and I talk a lot. You talk with each one of the coaches a lot. But the mentality is like, you were such a big athlete in the gym, you know, and I think you shifted so much more to being like, hey, I need to be an owner of this gym. And you put your fitness, obviously you're very fit, but like you said, I'm not competing anymore. Mm-hmm. You really can't. You don't have mind space to be able to compete at this time, even if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. But you've shifted the role as being like, hey, in order for our gym to grow, for us to be better, I've got to be an owner. I got to lead my coaches and teach them. So I think a year and a half ago, maybe the beginning of 2019, you taking the back seat and being like, okay, what can I do to put us in a better spot is changed. So when we talk now about the nutrition aspect,
you're taking a back seat.
You want to jump in? We're in coach's corner.
We're recording this.
You're hearing my story. So now when we rewind a little bit now to nutrition aspect, 2017. Here you are, you know, you get certified, a couple other members get certified. Around the gym, we start seeing people's bodies changing, performance going up. And for me, it was like, dude, I'm exhausted mom. I work crazy hours. I'm an athlete coming in here 5 days a week. I'm run down. And I just basically, you know, came to you and said, dude, what are you doing? I need to feel better. And that's kind of where it all started. You started it with me. You gave me the layout of kind of what you were doing. I did your layout. I kind of did it on my own in terms of doing the meals and stuff like that. But you said, hey, this is what I'm doing. Kind of start here. And I was like, all right, well, if I need your help, I'll reach out to you in a couple weeks. A couple weeks went by. I was feeling good. I kept going. And then next thing you know, I was like, holy cow. Like, I got really, really lean. Yep. I was performing really, really well. Yeah. But I also had taken it to the point of getting a little bit too lean. And at that point is when I started to research different things, try to get an understanding about women's hormones. And it just made sense at that point to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take the precision nutrition course. It seems like it's a lot of CrossFit kind of gyms like it. I knew you were certified. And I started diving in, so I had that for 2 years now, a little over 2 years. But from there, like, really, I always thought that I'm just going to jump right into nutrition. Didn't realize the planning part of it was going to take so much time. So it was really, like, honestly, I left my other job in the bar business as a manager to take a day job, thinking that I would have all this free time to be able to then start seeing clients. That didn't pan out. It was really during quarantine. You know, you have been a huge, you know, support of being like, hey, the people, we need to be worrying about our health. And you and I would talk about it. Hey, let's do this. What can we do habit-wise? Well, how can we get nutrition really as an important aspect of our gym and not the way we did it before. Right. Not solely about looking a certain way. We have to make it bigger than that. We have to look at the overall picture. So, I mean, we kind of together started working on the phases and saying, hey, like, we're not prescribing macronutrients for people and just giving them a template, because people can get that anywhere. We want to know their story. We want to know where they came from, what they've done, what they do for work. Let me know their schedule. We need to see the whole picture, how many kids they have. And honestly, that is where we come in versus where, you know, any program would be, is that the personal connection and the understanding, and also what we're pulling in is that it doesn't need to be 100%. And that basically the only overlying thing of our program and how we set it in phases is at each phase that we introduce, it's getting the person to see how that individual thing that we're working on affects them without pulling in all the other stuff.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, we need to build the habits. We need to also know that they're not going to be working with us for a long time. We don't want them. Like, I want people to check in. To be accountable. Dude, I'll be an accountability person for years to come if you want. Check in with me once a month. If you want to get scanned, if you feel like you're falling off. But I want them to have everything for them. I want them to be able to go back and be like, you know what? I've kind of been eating crappy for the last couple of days. I'm not feeling great. Wait, how's my sleep? How's my water intake? Oh yeah, look, my protein's really low. Be able to deep dive, you know, dig deep and be able to change little things. It doesn't need to be an all or nothing. Hey, I'm going on a diet to this diet to that diet. We're trying to give them tools to work toward better overall health for a sustainable period of time. Not for 6 weeks. You know, although you might work intensely with me 6 to 8 weeks. You know, I get oftentimes like, well, what else? Like at 8 weeks. Well, why would I give you anything else if what we're doing is working?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
All I need to know from you now and is in the next month or so is how are you feeling?
Yeah.
Are you still have a lot of energy? Or, you know, maybe your goal is 3 months down the road because your composition's changed so much. It's no longer about the number on the scale and you're like, dude, now I want to build muscle. Okay, well now we have to rework that, but we don't have to completely flip-flop it. You already have the tools and the education. And the education piece is what I'm learning that our clients do not have. A lot of the people that I'm working with now, I'm working with majority of those women are women. I do have a number of men as well. But people think they're educated, but they're educated about specific diets to the extent of how they could use that diet. They're not educated on what that diet does to them, or each specific macronutrient, how that works, why things are important. So I think the education piece is where our clients are really, gaining a
totally.
lot.
Totally.
And the understanding of how their body works.
And then talking, I mean, we talk and we troubleshoot a lot about clients, and what I'm hearing more and more of, especially with the folks I'm working with, is when we get to a certain point, it's more about mindset over how to be healthy than it is the actual foods.
Oh yeah.
It's because we get a lot of folks, at least I do, that have tried everything else.
Everything.
And I think what that's developed over time is people just being super, super restrictive, and they think if it's not restrictive, it's not working, right?
They think it needs to be harder than it is. Now what I find is exactly what you're saying too, and people are not metabolically flexible because they put a switch. Okay, on Monday morning, I'm going to start everything. They pull everything out of their diet. They undereat. They come in. They train here. They go running. They do this. They start seeing things happen, and then they fall off one day, or the scale stops moving, and then they bounce. They bounce back. So a lot of times, and I hate to use the word metabolically damaged, but a lot of the clients that we're working with have been under eating, and then they kind of binge eat. Because if you're under eating, you're gonna see weight loss, right? You're also gonna see muscle loss. You're also not gonna feel good. All of those things. But a lot of the clients are coming to us, mainly a lot of them want to lose weight. When we talk about, and that's a bigger thing too, is that you can put in a template. Hey, goal is weight loss. When you really dive in and you start, most of our clients don't want to be thin, right? They want to be lean. They want to look a certain way, especially the women. Women they feel empowered by having muscles and having them show.
Oh yeah.
So and having that conversation, we do that intake, and I spend 20 to 30 minutes. Like my first meeting is always an hour, because 20 to 30 minutes is like, I truly need to understand, what do you want to look like?
Yeah.
What is your goal? If the number on the scale is your only goal, then it's going to be a very tough thing here.
Exactly.
Because you're also weight training. So weight training, we're trying to promote you to be anabolic and put on muscle and to lose fat that way. Yet the number on the scale isn't going to probably reflect that unless we really sacrifice a lot of things. And mentally, and for overall health, sacrificing all of those things, that's not where 99.9% of the people need to be.
Nope.
Right? So I tell people right up front, for the first 3 weeks you're working with you, most likely you may see a pound or 2 pound weight loss, if anything. But what we should see is composition changes. And so when you get into those questions, they want to be lean. But what do we need first? We need muscle. So, if you come to me and you're 135 pounds and you only have 35 to 40 pounds of muscle on your body, but you say you want to be 120 pounds, the issue is that I can give you fat loss, but then you're going to be thin. Then you're going to not be strong. Then you're not going to really look any different. You're not going to have muscles. So, explaining that to people and getting them to really understand it oftentimes is hard. And supporting them when they're like, yeah, but I'm not seeing, okay, but let's try this down. You realize 2 pounds of muscle that you gain in 3 or 4 weeks, how substantial that is? It's definitely mind. I mean, 90% of it is mind. It is. Mindset. Making people understand that there are some sacrifices they make don't necessarily need to be with food, but maybe with schedule. Hey, like you need to make the time to do some of these things. You need to put some other things that really you're OCD about, maybe a little bit on the back burner for your overall health, for the stress levels. You know what I mean? We've talked about that before. Is that I was anal about my house. Like I needed things a certain way, and I still like my house neat and organized. But if I did what I did years ago, I would never have time for the gym. You know, this is my health like reset. You know, so yeah, I mean, we break things down into phases. We typically now, it was like a 6-week program, then it was 4 weeks, and typically we still, like I always tell people, hey, it's a month commitment, but what you should look to is that most likely you're going to be working with me for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
You're going to be in a good place in 8 weeks where you feel like you can manage this on your own. You can maneuver your schedule around. You should feel a little bit better about the guilt should kind of be lifted a little bit because you can manage your schedule and your eating and your training and all of that can start to flow. So yeah, now it's pretty much we're doing more like 8 weeks where six meetings. Yeah. We get in a little bit more of advanced nutrition with a lot of the clients right around 5 weeks. So I typically say, hey, listen, we're going to meet this week and then in 2 weeks we'll meet because I want you to have 2 weeks to kind of figure this out on your own.
Exactly.
And it's funny because I said this analogy and I was like, oh, this is a good one. I look at us as like we're the coach of the team. Like if you were thinking of football, we're the coach and the client is a quarterback. You know, we give them all the plays. We give them all the information they possibly need that they could utilize. And all of these tactics and tools that every diet has all works if you put them into play properly. Yep. But we basically educate you on all of it. We bring you through the process, and then we bring it to you and say, okay, here are the 3 or 4 plays that we could do. What do you think is the best play for you at this moment? Right. Yeah. You know, okay, well, let's go with that. Let's see how that works for. So it's not an all or nothing, and that's I think the change in people's stress level, the change in like, wait a minute, it's okay. Yeah. You know, it's definitely a lot of mental and emotional kind of stuff and that's what I love. Like I love helping people. So
yeah. No, you can. I mean, that's why you're so busy. Yeah. Because you actually help people. Yeah. And and people know you're genuine, which is also important as far as if they're gonna trust you as a coach. Yeah. You know, so I mean that's important, and I see it happen. I see you in there on Fridays like all morning, meeting with clients. Seems like each week you get busier and busier. Yeah, yeah. You know, and some people are hesitant about starting with a nutrition coach because they're like, well, I'm not ready to do that. But what they don't understand, you touched on it, is that even in CrossFit and our nutrition coaching program, we meet them where they are. Yeah. Right? We don't say, listen, you need to be here right now. No. We're going to start from the beginning with you. Yeah. You know, especially if you're someone that's never been through something like this. We're starting at the beginning. Right. And we're going to make this by the end of 8 weeks. If I told you what we're going to do to you in 8 weeks, you would think, no, it's way too much. Right. So we don't even touch on that yet. Right. Let's start with week 1. Right. You know, let's meet you where you're at. Let's have a 2-way street here of communication, because anything we leave with today to decide on comes from both of us. Yeah. You know?
And that's what I try to explain to people is that we have a skeleton that we lay out. And, you know, we have, like I said, women in general, I mean, a lot of the women that we have here are in their 30s and 40s, some in their 50s, some in their 60s, and I work with people kind of through all that. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing that I've seen more than anything for women is that we and I'm part of that, we grew up in an era where having muscle was not considered attractive. Yeah. Being really thin was kind of what it was, where in our early 20s and even our early 30s we could lose weight like that by pulling bread out for a couple days, and next thing you know your scale numbers down, your jeans are fitting you a little bit better, you could ride that out, and then as you get older and hormones change and all those things change, it's like you know as if you're thin and you have no muscle, things start to kind of sag, and then you don't feel as attractive. But also our hormone shift, things just don't work that way. So we need to work within that, but we also need to have the confidence. And that's the thing I like to see the shift in about week 4, where people are like, you know what, I'm feeling like, I didn't think, I get a lot of, perfect example is one of our clients who was like, I know you're not used to working with people kind of my age. And, we did the InBody on day 1. Do you really think, like, going into week 4 was any changes? Like, the scale's not really changing. Yeah. And I know that she kind of was setting herself up to fail and making it be okay that, like, if it didn't change, then to not be mad at me or